Who's the best team in the NFL? Here's my tier list rankings for all 32 NFL teams. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you content, NFL content, every single day. Now, in this video today, it's the first tier list video that I'm going to make. I want to give a huge shout out to my boy Mike D-Fran, and if you guys haven't checked out his channel, please do so. He's going to be in some videos upcoming soon. I'm excited, to do more content with him, but he's been doing these tier lists. He was telling me, dude, these are a ton of fun, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to get into it. And so I put out a poll on YouTube community section. I said, hey, what tier list should we do? Quarterback, running back, positional, contenders, head coaches. You guys wanted the NFL team rankings, so let's get into it. Let's pull up the tier list maker and let me know, what tier list do you guys want me to make next? All right, so here's the categories right here. We got Super Bowl favorites, Super Bowl contenders. We have playoff teams. We have potential wild cards, missing playoff teams, mediocre at best, young but intriguing, and number one pick contention. I hope you guys like the layout. This is the first time I'm doing a green screen, I think, ever on the channel. I've had this green screen for years. I've used them for TikToks. I've used them for YouTube Shorts, but I don't think I've used it on YouTube at all. It's going to be coming out a lot more because I'm going to be doing some more of these, fun videos, maybe some quiz and stuff like that. Again, let me know of anything you guys want me to talk about. But, again, these are my personal opinions, but let me know what you guys think. I'm going to start off with the very simple teams. I'm going to talk about them, don't worry. But I want to get the easy ones out there. I think Kansas City Chiefs is by far the easiest team to rank. Throw them up in the Super Bowl favorites. I did not mean to drop them in mediocre at best initially. I think the Eagles are also a team right there. If I can find the Eagles on this filter. There we go. And then I'm going to put the San Francisco 49ers. I think that's my Super Bowl favorites tier right there. I think that's it. The Kansas City Chiefs, obviously the reigning Super Bowl champion, Patrick Mahomes, I think, is the clear best quarterback in the NFL. If you want to say clear best player in the NFL, I'm not going to hate you for it whatsoever. But again, they did lose their offensive coordinator. I think they had a decent draft. I think their free agency was solid. They did lose Orlando Brown Jr., but I think this team, again, you have the best quarterback in the NFL. You have the best pass-catching weapon in the NFL as well in Travis Kelce, and you have maybe the best offensive mastermind the NFL has ever seen in Andy Reid. They're my number one team. I don't think that's a shocker. The Eagles, I think they're still very good. I think they changed a little bit up on the defense, but again, I think they're going to have a decent defense. I think they're going to have a really good run game. I think they're going to have a really good passing game. Again, I think Jalen Hurts is going to play pretty well. And I think, again, I don't think it's controversial, Super Bowl favorite. And then finally, San Francisco 49ers. There's question marks at quarterback. Who's going to start? Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They have the best skill position group maybe in the history of the NFL. You have, in my opinion, the best running back in the NFL. You have the second best tight end in the NFL. You have probably maybe the best receiving core in the NFL, if not the best, top three in Debo and Ayuk. I think Ayuk is wildly underrated. I'll get into that in some wide receiver rankings. I think Ayuk is phenomenal. You got Kyle Shanahan. You got a decent offensive line. Oh, and you have the best, a top five defensive player in football in Fred Warner. Oh, and an arguable top five defensive player in the NFL in Nick Bosa. They're going to be very good. I think they're going to wipe through their division. I think Eagles and 49ers, it's almost a lock for one of them to make the Super Bowl. I know people that'll say it is a lock. I've had people that try and make bets with me. They're like, I bet you. And I'm like, dude, I agree. So those are my three Super Bowl favorite teams. And I would say here, I'll put them in order just for you guys. We're going, these are my tier list rankings. We're going to go in order for this. This is going to be a lot of fun. Now, next up, I'm going to put the Baltimore Ravens in just because I'm a Ravens fan, get that out of the way. I'm going to put them in Super Bowl contenders. I don't think they're the best Super Bowl contender, but I'm just throwing them in there right now. If you guys want to see Ravens videos on my channel, just click any other video. I'm not going to talk about them too much. Lamar's great. New offensive coordinator. I think it's going to be huge. But that's it right there. Next up, I'm going to put the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to put them there because they've been very good the last few seasons. They have, I believe, the second best quarterback in the NFL in Joe Burrow, and a great offense. And I do like what they did in free agency. I love the addition of Orlando Brown Jr. Because their offensive line has given them a little bit of trouble. Not as much trouble as people initially expected when they took Jamar Chase over Penei Sewell, but that's besides the case. And then let's see here. Scrolling through, honestly, I can't see anybody off the top of the head where I'm going to put them there. There will be other teams in there. I'm now going to go into the categories. The New Orleans Saints, I have to put them in as a playoff team because they're by far the best team in their division. I don't necessarily see them in that tier, but I think they're a lock to make the playoffs, so I have to put them in playoff team. They'll probably be at the back end. I love their young receiver core. I love Chris Olave. I like the addition of Derek Carr. I'm not a hater of that whatsoever. I think Derek Carr's going to play pretty well for them. I am excited to watch. We'll see what happens with Alvin Kamara, though, but I think that's what I got right there. Next up, the Miami Dolphins. I think the Miami Dolphins are getting a little bit overrated. I'm not a huge fan of Tua Tagovailoa, but I think they're well coached. I think, the addition of Jalen Ramsey, who's my cornerback one in the NFL. I think Tyreek, I think Jalen Waddle combined, very good duo. We'll see if they get Dalvin Cook, but I'm going to throw them in playoff teams, definitely in front of the Saints. Let's move the Saints back there. That's where I'm going to slide them in for now. I don't like that they took away the white background in the Dolphin, though. That's not very good. Next up, Denver Broncos. I can throw in potential wild card. I do like what the Denver Broncos did a lot, but their division is so good right now where I can't necessarily say, oh yeah, they're a playoff team, even though I think they're going to be, I think they're better than the Saints. I think they're going to clearly be better than the Saints, but I don't necessarily see them as a lock to make the playoffs, whereas, or even just okay, there's a very good chance. I think it's an okay chance they make the playoffs, but it will be as a wild card. They can't win their division. It's almost impossible for them to win their division, knocking on wood, barring, injuries to Mahomes or Travis Kelce or something like that. Next up, the New York Giants. I'm gonna slide them into the potential wild card spot. I like Daniel Jones. I have him as the 11th best quarterback in the NFL, which if you told me that last season, I probably would have slapped you in the face. I'm not going to lie. I don't even think it's a hot take to have him at 11 right now. I think he was great last year, and he had no wide receiver weapons. People clown on the Ravens for having no wide receiver weapons. Daniel Jones had worse. Still made the playoffs. So, shout out to Daniel Jones for doing that. Next up is the Minnesota Vikings. And their defense, they changed a lot. They got rid of Adam Thielen. But, again, their division isn't very good. So I'm going to throw them in. Let's see here. Get them between the Saints. All right. I'm going to throw them in the playoff teams. I think they will make the playoffs. Whether it's as a wild card or winning the division, I'm not 100% sure. But I do think it's a very good chance that they do end up making the playoffs because their division's gotten worse. Obviously, Rodgers leaving helps a lot. They were very good last year. And I think they're going to take another step. I like what they did offensively. They now have a full offseason with Hawkinson. Yes, they lost Dalvin Cook. I like Alexander Mattison, though. I think he'll be decent. I really, really like Dwayne McBride. I really hope he gets a good opportunity there because I think he is a stud. Not necessarily a Pro Bowl running back, but someone that can just tote the rock and carry the load on offense. And then Jordan Addison, I think, is really good wide receiver. I wanted Jordan Addison. Ravens fans know that. I wanted Jordan Addison. He was my wide receiver 2 in the draft. I think he's going to do real well next to Justin Jefferson, who I didn't even mention talking about him. Next up, the LA Rams. Now, this is going to surprise a lot of people, but I'm going to throw them a potential wild card because I think this team's going to surprise a lot of people. I think that Matthew Stafford coming back is huge. I love Sean McVay. Yes, they lost Jalen Ramsey. But Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Sean McVay is already a very good duo. We're going to see what Cam Akers is able to do, in a full offense that actually has a quarterback. And then we're also going to be able to see, the wide receiver 2 position because I think a lot of people are doubting on Tutu Atwell. And my favorite wide receiver in this recent draft, not the best wide receiver, my favorite was Puka Nacua, who they ended up taking, and I was a huge fan of his game at BYU. I think he is going to take that next step. I'm throwing him behind the Giants, but there's a decent chance that the Rams are the second best team in their division this year. They are 2 years removed from winning the Super Bowl, and they got their quarterback back. Very excited to watch them. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're going into number 1 pick contention. Now, I don't necessarily think the Buccaneers are the worst team in the NFL, but I'm not putting them in young and intriguing because they're not. I think Baker's going to be the starter. I actually am a fan of Baker Mayfield, but at this point in his career, I think their offense is going to be okay. I think the defense is going to be pretty meh, and I don't think they're trying to win. Now, if this team was invested in trying to make the playoffs, I could see them being in mediocre at best, but I think they're probably going to attempt to tank and potentially get that, a top 3 pick in the draft. I don't think they'll get the number 1 pick, but I think they'll be, gunning for it at least. Next up is the Detroit Lions. Now, if you guys know anything about me, I don't like them. I don't believe in them. I've never believed in the Detroit Lions. I don't like the Lions. I'm a Ravens fan. It has nothing to do with, rivalry bias or anything like that. I don't like them. They've ruined too many players' careers that I'm a fan of. So, I'm putting them in missing the playoffs because I don't think they will make the playoffs. I think that their division, I'm going to say this, I think they could be the 3rd best team in their division. And, their coaching, we're going to see how Dan Campbell does. Jared Goff, he had a good season last year. I'm not trying to take that away, but, they had the suspensions this year. Jameson Williams missing time. Amon-Ra's probably going to be good. They lost Swift. I like Jahmyr Gibbs. I like David Montgomery. I'm fine with getting rid of Swift. I wasn't a big Swift fan anyway. So, it comes down to how they're going to develop. But I think it's going to be similar to what they were last year, where it's, they're close. I think they're close to making the playoffs. I just don't think they sneak in. They might be the 8th team in the NFC this year. I think that's where I see them. Could they be a wild card? Yes, but that's in the sense that any team has a chance. I'm not a big believer in them. This team I'm a believer in. I think this is definitely going to be the last team in potential wild cards. But if you guys don't know this about me, I love Justin Fields. I think what they did in the offseason was very good. DJ Moore, stud. I think their defense, they got rid of Roquan Smith. I still think that was a terrible move for them, but they did add some good linebackers, to try and replace that. They have, a good offense. I think they'll have a good offense. And I think their division is poor enough where they'll be able to get a good amount of wins in that division, and they're going to have a good enough schedule, being the worst team in the NFL last year, where they're going to get to play against the worst team in every division. And that's going to benefit them a lot because they're going to have a pretty easy schedule. And I think they're going to take away some wins. Again, not necessarily saying, they're going to be fantastic, but I think they have a better chance at making the wild card than the Detroit Lions do. Next up is the Raiders. Number 1 pick contention. Now, this is purely based in quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo isn't good. And I love what the Raiders did this offseason outside of Jimmy G. I don't have a problem with trading Waller. I love the draft pick of Michael Mayer. I think Devontae Adams is a stud. I'm not trying to hate on that whatsoever. I love Devontae, but Jimmy Garoppolo can't throw the throws that Devontae excels at getting open for. Those sideline routes, those fade routes, those corner routes. Jimmy G can't do that. He wants to throw it across the middle to the tight end, and I think they're going to struggle. They play in a great division. They're clearly the worst team. They're going to lose a lot of games, and I think it's going to put them in a great spot to maybe get Caleb Williams. And, if they get Caleb Williams, they would go from number 1 pick contention to wild card team. I don't even think that's a debate right now. I think they would clearly be a wild card team this year if they had Caleb Williams. If they could get him next year, I think they are going to be in contention. I think they're worse than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but that's because I have no faith in Jimmy Garoppolo. And I loved Jimmy Garoppolo before he got injured in San Francisco. I thought he was a stud. He was mobile. He could move. He could roll around the pocket. But now, that's not what he does. That's not his game anymore. Green Bay Packers, I'm going to throw him in young but intriguing. I liked Jordan Love coming out in the draft. We haven't seen him. I like Christian Watson. I like Romeo Doubs, but we haven't seen enough of them. I think they were kind of carried by Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones. They still have Aaron Jones, but I don't see them as necessarily a playoff team. I do see them as a team that's just going to be trying to figure it out under LaFleur. They could win some games because LaFleur, I think he is a good coach, but, I think they're going to be, a top 10 pick, not necessarily going for the number 1 pick because I think they are pretty well coached, but they're not going to be very good. I'm sorry, Packers fans. Washington Commanders. I'm going to go missing playoffs. I don't think their quarterback play is going to be good enough. I did like Sam Howell coming into the draft again, but their offense looks decent. We're going to see how they play. They just haven't been able to put together an offense under their, rotating carousel of quarterbacks. They have great weapons. I'm not going to deny that. I love their receiving core. I think they've got decent running backs, Brian Robinson Jr., Antonio Gibson, but I don't necessarily see their defense getting back to what it was when they last made the playoffs. Arizona Cardinals, worst team. If they had Kyler, they'd be higher. But they don't have Kyler Murray. They're going to struggle. Colt McCoy is the expected, potential starter. I don't think that's good news at all. There's a chance Kyler doesn't play at all. They're going for the number 1 pick. Whether or not they draft Caleb Williams, I don't know. But I think as of right now, they're clearly the worst team that I've ranked. Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll throw in a potential wild card. I'll throw them above the Rams. Mike Tomlin's a very good coach. It's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. But they're just well coached. They have good offensive weapons. They have TJ Watt. If TJ Watt is playing, they can win any game. That is how dominant he is. I think he's the best defensive player in the NFL. I think he's a top 3 player in the NFL. He is going to carry them. That defense is going to carry them. We'll see what Kenny Pickett can do. If he takes that next step, if he takes that step in the direction of, okay, this guy can be our, franchise guy. Maybe that's not top 10. That's top 25. No, not top 25. Top 20, top 15 is what I was trying to say. I think that could be special for them. And they could sneak in. Buffalo Bills. I'll throw them in Super Bowl contenders. I do believe in the Bills. I'm going to throw them in front of the Ravens. And I do that because they've been getting deeper in the playoffs more recently than the Ravens, and I did like what they did in the offseason. I think adding a tight end, legitimately adding a tight end in Dalton Kincaid is going to help them a lot, especially maybe not in the first 9 weeks, right? It takes a while for tight ends to adjust. You rarely see rookie tight ends, produce. But down the stretch of the season, I think he's going to get more and more reps in, and I think he's going to start taking over for Dawson Knox, and it could really help them in the postseason. If something happens with Stephon Diggs, drop him. They need Stephon Diggs. But, Khalil Shakir coming into his second year. Gabe Davis, we're going to see how they, attempt to utilize him. I think they're going to be pretty solid. I think their defense is going to be, above average in the NFL. And they have Josh Allen. He's great. But I'm not putting him in the Super Bowl favorites just because I don't see them on the level of the top 3 teams. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to go young but intriguing. They could be pretty good. I'm not trying to say that they can't be pretty good, but it is a wild shot in the dark. I don't think Ritter's very good, so that hurts them. But Bijan, Drake, and Pitts, that's the best young core in the NFL right there. That's unbelievable what they have built. They added Calais Campbell this offseason. I thought that was a little bit of a weird move, but again, this is just intriguing. Could they skyrocket and be a playoff team? Yes. But it's literally just, we have no idea what they're going to be, and we're going to have to find out. So that's where I'm going to put them. I think that's not necessarily this is the 5th worst team I've ranked so far. It's more of just a separate tier that's not even within the other tiers, where it's they could be really good or they could be really bad. We just have no idea because they're completely relying on all young assets. Seattle Seahawks over the Commanders. I don't trust Geno. And I'm not saying he's going to be bad, but I think this year is going to be a blank year for them. And then next year they get a new quarterback. Yeah, they signed Geno for 3 years, but I don't think it's going to work out this year, and I think they're going to get somebody new. I like their core. I love the JSN pick. I don't love the selection of Devin Witherspoon, but maybe it works out for them. Their defense is young. It's fun, but I don't see them making the playoffs. I think the Niners are going to be up on them. And again, like I brought up, I think the Rams are better. Next up, the New England Patriots. I'm going to go mediocre at best. I got to get somebody in that tier, and Bill Belichick is just such a good coach that he could get them to that tier. But Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, what do you want? Cleveland Browns. I'll throw him in potential wild card, and I'll throw him right here above the New York Giants, and that's because Deshaun Watson had a full offseason. I love the addition of Zadarius Smith. I think that duo with Myles Garrett is going to be the best in the NFL. I think that's going to help them a lot. And I'm saying best in the NFL over Bosa and Khalil Mack. That's how high I am on Myles Garrett. I think he's the second best pass rusher in the NFL. And Zadarius Smith, I think, is top 10. So I think they're going to be really good on that front. Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper, again, full offseason to work together. They added more from the Jets. They added, they have their other wide receiver in Donovan Peoples-Jones. Nick Chubb finally gets to be the bell cow. I think they're going to be pretty solid. They could absolutely be a wild card team. I don't see them winning the division. I think that'll be Ravens or Bengals for sure. The Houston Texans, I'm actually going to throw them in young but intriguing. And I'll throw them at the back end of that. And that's just because I think C.J. Stroud was the most pro-ready quarterback in the draft. I do like Michi. I do like Robert Woods. They have Brevin Jordan. They signed Dalton Schultz. They have a good team. They're young. I don't think they're going to be great. But again, they're more intriguing than Trent, going after the number one pick. And we're going to see. I also think Will Anderson's going to have the importance of having a number one pass rusher in the NFL is so great, and so many people miss out on the fact that how great a one player on the defense can make you. If you draft a corner, if you draft a safety, if you draft a linebacker, they're probably not going to do that. But if you draft the best edge rusher in the class, and maybe the best edge rusher in the last 4 classes, he's going to make that defense special. Special compared to what they were. They're not going to be the best defense in the NFL. They might not even be average, but they were atrocious recently, and they could get up to usable. And if they have a usable defense and a good young quarterback, I believe in C.J. Stroud, I think they could be intriguing and not going after the number one pick. The Dallas Cowboys are up next, and I would throw them right here if I had more faith in Dak. But instead, I have to throw them in front of the Dolphins. I don't know why it wasn't letting me put them in the front. Dak is just so tough to trust. And that's not necessarily... I do like Dak. It's just recently, in big games, he's been throwing a lot more interceptions, and he's been turning the football over. Micah Parsons is unbelievable. Top 5 defensive player in the NFL. Maybe a top 10 player in the NFL. They added Gilmore alongside Trayvon Diggs, which is huge. They got rid of Zeke. Don't necessarily love that move for the current, but, they're going to utilize Tony Pollard. They have CeeDee Lamb. I think he's a stud. Their receiving core, Michael Gallup as well. I'm a huge Simi Fehoko fan. If you guys don't know that about me, they could be very interesting. Don't count them out, but I'm not ready to put them in that next tier yet. Chargers, I'm going to throw them into playoff teams. I'm going to throw them over the Dolphins. It's so hard for me to do that. I hate their management and their coaching. But Herbert's great. Allen, Williams, Johnston. Johnston's not going to be very good to start, but maybe he picks it up later in the season. Eckler ended up staying. Bosa, Mack, Derwin. If they stay healthy, they're absolutely going to be a playoff team, as probably a wild card because the Chiefs exist. But I do think they're better than the Dolphins because of quarterback. We saw that last year when they played each other. The New York Jets are next. Wow, this is a team that I never think about. But again, I do really like them. This is absolutely a playoff team. Definitely above them. I'm going to throw them. We're throwing it over the Chargers. And that's because Aaron Rodgers has that, recent success in the regular season. And, obviously he hasn't been great in the postseason, but he played the Niners a lot. That's tough. The Niners are very good. They have good wide receivers. They have good running backs. They have good defensive players. We're going to see. This is Saleh. I think this is a make or break year for Saleh. Because if this team is great, he's going to stay. If they struggle, I think he's completely gone. They've rebuilt this team to try and win now. They brought in Aaron Rodgers. They brought in everybody he wanted. Now they got to go try and win that Super Bowl. The Carolina Panthers are up next, and I'm going to throw them in number 1 pick contention, and that is because Bryce Young may take a little bit of time to adjust. I think he's a decent prospect. I'm not trying to hate on him, but, at that size, and everybody's speed. But they got rid of a lot of assets. I don't think the running game is going to be anything special. They have Miles Sanders, who's fine, but he's nothing. He's not Christian McCaffrey. He's not who they've had recently. And so I think it's just going to be kind of a mediocre season for them. The Tennessee Titans are up next, and I'm going to put them in mediocre at best above the Patriots just because Ryan Tannehill sucks, but their younger quarterbacks are projects. I don't think Will Levis is good at all. Malik Willis, on the other hand, I'm not going to hate. I think he could be good, but we haven't seen him. We saw him for like half of a game, and then I believe he got benched last season in prime time. So it's just like, we can't really say, oh, he's going to be this. I think one of them will start this year, maybe both of them at some point. But, you can't rely on Derrick Henry that much when your defense isn't going to be good and you don't have any weapons. Maybe Treylon Burks steps up, but maybe they get D-Hop. Maybe they get Nook, and that helps them out a lot, but not buying in on them. The Indianapolis Colts, if they're starting Anthony Richardson, they're not going to be good. He's a project. He's a clear project. Could he be absolutely phenomenal? Absolutely. But not this year. And I don't think it's a bad thing that they're in number 1 pick contention. I think that's actually a good thing. It's going to help them out. Maybe they can get a wide receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr. or something like that, rather than, getting the 12th pick and not getting the guy you want. They got a good running back. They've got, a high potential quarterback. Michael Pittman Jr., I think he's the number 2 wide receiver in the NFL, but he's their number 1. He's fine. That's about it. That's about all they got going for him right now. Final team is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they're definitely a playoff team. I think they're almost a guarantee. I think they're a lock to win their division, and I'm going to put them in playoff teams. I think they're better than the Cowboys because of quarterback Trevor Lawrence. I don't think they're on the tier of the Bengals, Ravens, and Bills. And if you guys are like, wow, you say like because of quarterback a lot. Yeah. It's the most important position in the NFL. If you look at my top 6 teams in the Chiefs, in the 49ers, Eagles, Bills, Ravens, Bengals, 4 of those teams' quarterbacks are in my top 4 quarterbacks in the NFL. Right there. And then you look after that, and that's most of my other top quarterbacks in the NFL. So I am a big believer in most of those teams' quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts is in my top 10 as well. I'm not trying to hate on that. My quarterback tier list will be coming, though, so you guys will be able to see that. But here's the list. Let me know in the comment section down below where you guys would change things. Let me know what tier list you guys want next. If you guys are excited for more NFL heavy content, more just overall sports content, I'm going to talk basketball. I'm going to talk baseball. Shout out to the Braves. That's my team right there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to be doing this switch up. This was a longer video. I'm working to get better. If you have any tips, suggestions, you think I should talk less, talk more, please let me know. But thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for Daily Ravens content, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.